Hey everybody, hi, hello, welcome. It says that I'm live, so I'm assuming I'm live. Today we're going to be doing some light Googling, honestly, probably some Wikipedia-ing, and I'm going to look at Aeacus, Rhadamanthus, and Minos, because I've been having some interesting dreams lately. And there was an interesting string of dreams, a few dreams that were interesting. So I was like, well, instead of whatever that is, let's look at Aeacus, Minos, and Rhadamanthus. Aeacus, Minos, and Rhadamanthus are the three judges of the underworld. There's also three heads on Cerberus. There's Tartarus, Elysium, and then some kind of purgatory, I'm assuming. So that would be like three different branches to the underworld. And we're going to see. I was going to like do the research first. Then I was like, oh, it'll be more fun to Aeacus, right? To do this here. Wait, it may be AEA because I think it's Aeacus. Aeacus. I was close. Aeacus. So Aeacus is going to be first. Aeacus was a mythological king of the island of Aegina in the Saronic Gulf. Okay, let's get into that. I think Minos was a king too, and he was a very just king. And he was so just, in fact, that he was invited, I guess, to be a judge. It does beg the question, I guess, like how were things being judged before these kings became judges? But we'll see. So, Aeacus was born on the island of Anopia, where Aegina had been carried by Zeus to secure her from the anger of her parents. Afterward, this island became known as Aegina. Some traditions related that at the time when Aeacus was born, Aegina was not yet inhabited, and that Zeus either changed the ants of the island into the men over whom Aeacus ruled, or he made the men grow up out of the earth. Okay, so didn't expect that. So that's going to be a few cards. We'll just see. I'm gonna do this as I go along. My memory is not great all the time. My short-term memory isn't the best. So we're gonna see. And I'm gonna like move this over. There we go. And we'll just see what comes out. High Priestess. Oof. High Priestess at the cut with the giver. Not that that necessarily matters, but that's really loud. I'm using a mic. I hope that's not too loud. I should like pad this a little bit. It's fine. I'll keep it in mind for next time though. So the Five of Wands contender and the Nine of Chalices, the Wish Granted. The contender in this deck speaks of prophecy. And it speaks of the fulfillment of a prophecy. The wish granted is the wish granted. So it does carry an epic quest energy. So what were these things before Zeus turned them into the men? That's a lot. This is weird. So it's the Star, the Seven of Pentacles, the Nine of Swords, and the Ace of Swords. It's coming through. It's like an island of broken dreams. And then what energy do they take on after? Okay. The Giver. Six of Orbs. So we're going to create this story as we go along. And I have my storytelling deck, so I'm excited about that. The Wild Unknown Tarot is the deck that I grab whenever I just tell a story. And they've come out with some interesting stories. My favorite one was the one about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the Creator. And this place we live in. It was a creation story. Ooh, the Emperor with the Three of Cups. See, there's something in that prophecy the world with the emperor. Yeah, there's something about that prophecy that we're in the space of fulfilling. Okay. So we have this island of broken dreams that once they've become animated, they take on the characteristic of that dream. We'll leave it there. I'm not going to put too much onto it right now. And we'll keep reading about Aegina and Aeacus. So, Ovid, on the other hand, supposed that the island was not uninhabited at the time of the birth of Aeacus, instead, stating that during the reign of Aeacus, Hera, jealous of Aegina, ravaged the island bearing the name of the latter by sending a plague or a fearful dragon into it, by which nearly all its inhabitants were carried off. Afterward, Zeus restored the population by changing the ants into men. So either way, it's uninhabited, either because it was just uninhabited or because of the wrath of Hera. Now, if Hera did something to this island, then Zeus probably did something, and Hera couldn't do anything to Zeus, so she punished the island instead. These legends seem to be a mythical account of the colonization of Aegina, which seems to have been originally inhabited by Pelagasian, I don't know how to pronounce it. Pelasgians, and afterwards received colonists from Theotis, the seat of the Myrmidons, and are from Phyllis on the Asopus. Okay. While he reigned in Aegina, Aeacus was renowned in all Greece for his justice and piety, and was frequently called upon to settle disputes not only among men, but even among the gods themselves. Okay, this is interesting. It reminds me of a dream I had a long time ago. I have weird dreams. I'm a Pisces, and my Mercury is in Neptune retrograde in my 12th house, so weird dreams. But I had a dream that there was an item, and I guess I was a Zeus-like creature because in the dream I was a god and I could turn into an eagle. I could turn into anything. I turned into an eagle because I had to go somewhere. But there was an item that I had to go get. I wasn't Zeus because I think Zeus or the Zeus character got it. But the item played on ego. And whoever touched it, it would like amplify their ego so many times fold. But in the dream, like it didn't really work on me because I didn't have much of an ego. And so I went to grab it. I remember it being a place that was like surrounded by water, or there was a lot of water. There were two people I saw. It was like there was this, it was like an outside chapel with a bunch of pews, and there were two people outside. Well, I mean, there was a crowd of people outside, and they were all facing like basically what was Mount Olympus, where the gods lived. And I talked to two of them. I go out there, I get it. I remember like we were eating, and I was just like, I just had the item. And I was like, this is whatever. I'm like, I'm out of here. But anyway, I go back at the end of the dream to deliver the item or to put it in safe, somewhere where it would be safe and where it wouldn't cause any harm. And I see the same two people in the front, but they were married. I was like, oh my gosh, do you remember me? They're like, no. I was like, I was the dude that like saw y'all, before I went on this journey to recover this item. And they're like, oh. I was like, yeah, well, I'm going back to Mount Olympus basically now. Bye. I don't know why it reminds me of that dream. But the part about like even settling disputes between gods, that's huge because was it the Trojan War? I don't think it was the Trojan War. One of the wars was started by Eris because she wasn't invited to a party and she was mad. So she tossed in, I think it was an apple. It might have been a golden apple. And it said to the fairest of the goddesses, like to the most beautiful goddess. And then, of course, the goddesses started fighting over which one was the most beautiful. And so basically, it's like to be in a position to settle disputes between gods, like that's huge. That is huge. And to be recognized and trusted with that. Okay. He was such a favorite with the latter, I guess the gods, that when Greece was visited by a drought as a consequence of a murder that had been committed, the Oracle of Delphi declared that calamity would not cease unless Aeacus prayed to the gods to end it. Aeacus prayed, and as a result, the drought ceased. Aeacus then demonstrated his gratitude by erecting a temple to Zeus, Panhellenius, on Mount Panhellenion. And afterward, the Aeginetans built a sanctuary on their island called Aeacium, which was a square temple enclosed by walls of white marble. Aeacus was believed in later times to be buried under the altar of the sacred enclosure. This is also so this it's carrying an energy of being basically able to undo curses in sense of like I said earlier, like Hera would often punish humans because of Zeus impregnating somebody. And it reads like most of the times it wasn't asked for and it was very unwanted. But she couldn't do anything against him. But in comes an Aeacus energy or an Aeacian energy that can almost like quell the anger or the wrath of the gods. And so next, it's going to be the quality of justice or what we're recognized for. Oh, that came out super quick. Okay, well, that also came out. That almost came out. So, what we're recognized for, it's a discernment. The chariot, the six of swords, the seven of cups, and the archangel of healing. The chariot, the ferryman, the corrupter, and the archangel of healing. This is interesting because to me, it's bringing back that energy of those that don't exist on earth, or it's an energy that's able to navigate the duality of earth. The card that came out face down is Holy Water, the Ace of Cups. So this is like it's almost able to maintain a certain amount of divinity. So that dove is rising. Okay. Because it's like the angels fell to earth. It's almost like earth had a gravitational pull that would like drag anything down. And so as higher dimensional beings came, they were sucked down into this density, this frequency. But this is an energy of one who was born on this planet, but that basically ascends, that transcends the limitations of, because like Earth is very dynamic, but it's also kind of static. It's dynamic in that it's constantly evolving and changing, but it's also static in the fact that there are cycles to everything. So it isn't necessarily breaking anything. It's following what it's designed to do. There are cycles and seasons of growth, there are cycles and seasons of decay, and there are periods in between. But the energy that like breaks the mold is one of continuous growth or one of continuous elevation, regardless of the circumstances. And I read some of the Kabbalion like a long time ago. I don't remember which principle, but it reminds me of the one that talked about the, what do you call it, pendulum, and that like whatever you experience on the positive side, you're going to experience something equally, you're going to experience something of the equal magnitude on the negative side. But the trick is to elevate yourself above the pendulum when it swings back. So you experience the positive, you elevate yourself so that even when it swings back into the negative, you have the perspective to see like the higher option. Because it's here. It's like it's the chariot when it's moving forward. And when it swings back, it's the Six of Swords over the Seven of Cups. Six of Swords, a boat on the water. There's the water, and it maintains that healing, that healed presence, that king, that pinnacle energy, regardless of whatever corruption is there. Oh, well, that's the dream I had, right? Because it was the item that corrupted the gods. It played on their ego, and it made them do all kinds of things that they wouldn't ordinarily do. And it was to hold that item and to basically retrieve it. So yeah, it's an ascending energy from this space. That's what Aeacus is recognized for. So then it's almost like the Aeacian energy becomes an emissary of sorts, I guess, because it's able to maintain a certain amount of divinity in a space that would that the gravity is still significant enough where it would pull anything else down. So it becomes the voice of that, or it takes on some kind of presence in that arena until the anchor is raised, basically. This is interesting. I didn't know where this was gonna go. Hey, Mimi. Ooh. Yeah. I'm back. So I'm in the place where I did my little mini spiritual retreat last year. I'm with my buddy again. Okay. Thanks for stopping in. It's been a minute. I hope you find everything you need at the store. Excuse me. Yeah, I didn't know what Aeacus, Radamanthus, and Minos was going to be, because they're the judges of the underworld. Okay. So, later adventures. A legend preserved in Pindar relates that Apollo and Poseidon took Aeacus as their assistant in building the walls of Troy. Well, there goes that Trojan War energy. Because I know the Trojan War was over Helen of Troy, and Paris was there, right? And then one of the goddesses was probably mad that Helen was as beautiful as she was. But anyway, back to this. When the work was completed, 3 dragons rushed against the wall, and though the 2 that attacked the sections of the wall built by the gods fell down dead, the 3rd forced its way into the city through the portion of the wall built by Aeacus. Thereafter, Apollo prophesied that Troy would fall at the hands of Aeacus's descendants. The Aeacidae, sons of Telamon and Peleus, joined Heracles when he sieged the city during Laomedon's rule. Later, his great-grandson, Neoptolemus, was present in the wooden horse. Aeacus was also believed by the... Wait, I want to do something with that. Okay, because this is interesting. So even though we found a way to basically ascend, to transcend certain limitations. Ooh, the Lovers and the Ace of Wands at the cut. We're still human. So there's still an energy of vulnerability here. So what is this vulnerable spot? I like this. This is fun. I might do this more often. Just walk through mythology. I love how all of these are more than one card. Oh, wow. Okay, so this is interesting. So the 5 of Wands came out earlier, which was them fighting over the fulfillment of the prophecy. It was the challenge to get the crown that it was prophesied the king would win and then wear, right? The politic, 3 of Wands, the Archangel Commander, and the Archangel of Mysteries both came out. No, this is in our vulnerable spot. And honestly, this speaks to free will, and it speaks to choice. And in some ways, it speaks of ego. And so we do whatever to be recognized, to be granted permission into these higher levels of whatever, to be initiated into whatever. But with the Archangel Commander and the Archangel of Mysteries, it's a little bit of an energy of that, the Archangel Commander is almost using it for personal gain. with the Archangel of Mysteries fulfilling more of that emissary role. Because the Archangel of Mysteries is the angel that's permitted to walk the lower realms, the higher realms, and the middle realms. And because she can do that, one of the ways that she serves is by guiding lost souls. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be that, because there are different functionalities for everybody, right? But it's almost reading that way. It's almost feeling like it would have to come in the form of tests, because I don't know how else. I don't know a lot of things, because it feels like someone is trying to get information on how someone would use a gift before it's bestowed upon them. And so maybe, see, I would say that, like, but if you make it through this process, I would assume that you wouldn't fall to whatever. But maybe that's not necessarily the case. I mean, they do say that absolute power corrupts absolutely. And there are people who would say that they wouldn't have done or committed whatever atrocities or bad things they did or committed if they didn't have the power. But I've always been of the mind that, like, if all it takes is a little bit of power or a little bit of money for you to turn into a villain, then you were already a villain. You were just a villain without the power, the authority, or the money. I don't necessarily believe that those things corrupt absolutely. They can play on things that already exist, but if it's already coded within you to not do a certain thing, I don't necessarily see authority or some kind of increase in status being the thing that, like, breaks the camel's back. If you know, and a lot of us exist in a lot of gray areas, right? And so there are things that we don't necessarily think of, or ways that we don't necessarily prepare ourselves, so that when we're in that situation, it could be a little bit easier for us to make a choice that isn't as thought through as it could be. But it's feeling a little bit like an energy of, like, will you be a tyrant or will you be a savior with this? So it's kind of ego in a way. In a way, maybe, maybe not. That's the weakness, the vulnerable spot for man, which makes sense, right? And also, I guess it's not necessarily in a bad way, because it is coming, like, there's the storyline that comes through of someone who has power, who uses it. I haven't seen WandaVision, but I'm assuming it's like WandaVision, where you use a power to do something that you shouldn't do, but you do it for good reason or from an emotional place. And maybe that is also what this could be. The Archangel of Mysteries abides by cosmic law. The Archangel Commander kind of sort of does what they want. They both know what to do and what not to do in each situation. One of them understands more what happens if you don't abide by cosmic law than the other, a little bit. And maybe it's because she's lived through enough mistakes of her own to not do it again. We don't know how she got that knowledge. Maybe she was born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. Who knows, right? So let's continue. That's the weak spot in this. And the weak spot in this, it's because of this weak spot that they say Aeacus's descendants will be the reason why uh, Troy falls. I was like, what is it? Okay. Aeacus was also believed by the Aeginetans to have surrounded their island with high cliffs in order to protect it against pirates. Several other incidents connected to the story of Aeacus are mentioned by Ovid. By Endius, Aeacus had two sons, Telamon, father of Ajax and Teucer, and Peleus, father of Achilles. Ajax was the one who was unbeatable. I think Ajax was that one. And that's why the dishwashing detergent brand Ajax, it fights grease, LOL, because Ajax fought Greece, like Greece. Ajax the Great, son of King Telamon, half brother of Teucer. He plays an important role and is portrayed as a towering figure and a warrior of great courage in Homer's Iliad, in the epic cycle, a series of epic poems in the Trojan War. Trojan Ajax, Greater Ajax, Ajax the Great. Let's see. That's his family. I can't remember if he was the one that was unbeatable or if it was someone else. He was trained by Chiron? He was trained by Chiron. I feel like him being trained by Chiron, it brings in an element of knowledge here. So that's why it's an energy of trials, honestly, because that's the only way to know how someone will do. Is that's the only way to know how someone will react to something or what they'll do with something before they get it. It's like a trial run, a mock run. There are situations and circumstances that we come across, and it's like either we'll have the Ace of Cups capacity to choose the higher option to get more, or it'll be about the same, or there may be a lesson that we hit again. Because it's like this constant turnaround. So the more Ace of Cups decisions we make, the more Ace of Pentacles, we'll say, we experience in this. I don't know what this is, but I'm liking it. Okay, so in the afterlife, which is what this is supposed to be about, after his death, Aeacus became one of the three judges in Hades, along with the Cretan brothers Rhadamanthus and Minos, and according to Plato, was specifically concerned with the shades of Europeans upon their arrival to the underworld. In works of art, he was depicted bearing a scepter and the keys of Hades. That's it. So it's not an Isle of Broken Dreams, it's an Isle of Shades. Which is just as interesting. Oh, it's an island of shades. It's basically Earth. It's basically Earth. Okay, all right, work. I mean, I got there on the second one anyway. This is so Earth energy has been interesting for like the past 24 roughly hours. And works of art, he was depicted bearing a scepter and the keys of Hades. Aeacus had sanctuaries in both Athens and in Aegina, and the Aeginetans regarded him as the tutelary deity of their island by celebrating the Aeacia in his honor. In The Frogs, 405 BC, by Aristophanes, Dionysus descends to Hades and proclaims himself to be Heracles. Aeacus, lamenting the fact that Heracles had stolen Cerberus, sentences Dionysus to Acheron to be tormented by the hounds of Cocytus, the Echidna, the Tartessian eel, and Tethracian gorgons. Alexander the Great traced his ancestry through his mother to Aeacus. So we got Ajax the Great, Alexander the Great. That's basically the end of this. I don't know why Dionysus. So there's some deception here. Should we? Sure, why not? So, what is this thing that we probably shouldn't do? Ooh, the Holy See with the sacred fire at the cut. I love just like exploring. Okay. What is this thing that we did? Not we did. The thing that was done. Because Aeacus was the presider over that. So the thing that was done is the Wheel of Life. The Wheel of Life is just like typical human shenanigans, as you know, we do the best we can with what we have down here. Why was it mistaken, though? Or what was the disguise it wore? Disguise. The disguise. Maybe. Is this not the right question? Who was that? The Knight of Swords. I should have taken the Knight of Swords. Okay, so we're not going to do the disguise. Wait, maybe I got to do this. Oops. I'm about to run out of deck. The Necromancer and the Five of Wands. The Necromancer and the Five of Wands, it speaks to the unspoken parts of the prophecy. Just like in, starts with an H, Macbeth. Macbeth does not start with an H. Just like in Macbeth, when Macbeth was prophesied to be the new Duke or whatever, he wasn't told that it would be because his wife would convince him to kill the current one. He also received a prophecy that he wouldn't be killed by man born. So he thought he was invincible because everyone is born from a woman. But Macduff was from woman ripped, not born. He didn't pass through the vaginal canal. So technically, he wasn't born. He wasn't woman born. It does speak to those unspoken. But again, like with this like riddly sphinxy, it's like a divine riddly sphinx energy. It's like we get these riddles, we get these thoughts, we have these ambitions, and we shouldn't necessarily have to be told not to kill somebody to usurp their throne or whatever, or that, you know, like you're not invincible, so be mindful. But it's like it's open-ended. That's what the Five of Wands and the Necromancer is. It's an open-ended prophecy. Open-ended enough where they get a princess in the Six of Wands instead of a prince who becomes the king. So the guys, the deception, nothing. Okay, that's fine. So we're gonna move over to the torture. There it is. Oh, look. See, I was just talking about the Six of Wands. So you get a princess. It was prophesied in the Three of Wands that it would be a crowned prince. In the Five of Wands, the princess disguised herself as a male and won the throne. Maybe it was a throne that was naturally hers, but that she wouldn't be given because she's a woman. And then the sacred fire is here. The sacred fire, it's coming across as an immutable, divine, sacred sort of energy. One that humans typically try to circumvent or get around in some way, but it always burns true. What's the punishment for this? The Hanged Man. This is fitting for a punishment. It's interesting that it's the Hanged Man, though, because I always see the Hanged Man as one that would violate the laws of the Hierophant. The bottom of the deck is the Stronghold of the Grail, which is the Page of Cups. Why is this is like the second day where like a Jesus energy comes through? Because it feels like at the moment of death, an angel or some kind of embodiment from spirit descends upon you and makes you holy, makes you unkillable. The thread won't cut. And so that takes me back to the energy a while ago. It's that shortcut energy. It's the energy that bridged the gap. It's like we make a choice or a decision that we weren't supposed to be able to make. And that's this. In here, this is why we were recognized. Because when we were presented with this corruption, we chose the cup of the Archangel of Healing. We chose the Holy Grail instead of any of these. And like, this is major chariot, this is minor chariot. And that's why it's like I don't know, it's something so it just feels extremely intriguing that we would be able to make these choices and decisions born in a world, raised in a world, believing certain things. But again, it's the energy of someone or something that maintains its divinity with that with all the times we've seen sacred fire, the Ace of Wands. And so it's like when the world turns against you, but you maintain your vision where you don't turn against the world because it turned against you. It becomes this moment of recognition. Now, in real life, hopefully people aren't dying, but like Aeacus had to make it to the underworld somehow. And so it's almost like, you stick to your guns to the very end, and in your afterlife, you're rewarded with the position of being one of the judges in the underworld. It does feel like it's a little bit of a show, though, because of the will of life. And maybe that's why it's the outlaw. We have 10 and 12. The card missing is justice. Justice is the card that will not come out. That's why in the story, because like not the way that they were building up Aeacus, but it's like because Dionysus declared himself to be Heracles, he was punished, or he was given Heracles' punishment. I'm like, well, that's not very just, Aeacus. Hey Siri, define piety.
Piety means the quality of being religious or reverent.
Oh, it's a reverence. So he was just and reverent. Well, that makes sense for this Ace of Cups energy, right? So that's this. Now I'm going to go through with the Wild Unknown Tarot. And we're going to treat this like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 card spread. Excuse me. Backed by the energies that are already here. So that was a little bit of the story of Aeacus, right? Oh, look, the Hanged Man. Okay, all right. So that's confirmation to me that something is happening. Oh, look, the Hangman and the Seven of Wands. That's the courage and the strength to stand apart, to hold your light. Oh, it's in the middle somewhere. To hold your light even in the space of darkness. Oh, and then it comes out with the sun. See? So is that how we're going to do this? Sure. Card number 1. How am I going to do this? Actually, I'm going to shuffle this, and then I'll just pull them off the top. Oh, okay. We'll give it 3 more. 2 more. 1 more. Last one. Let me do... I want to cut this. We'll do that. We'll do that, and that. And then that. And then that. So, pulling off the top, the first card is the Emperor. The Emperor is interesting. So, the Emperor is coming out in the space of what energies were turned into man, into the inhabitants of Aegina, who were later ruled by Aeacus. This is one of those energies where I'm just like, okay. Like, I got it. It just like, it's not that I don't see it. I'm just like, what is this? These are the inhabitants of the island. And you would think like creating, okay, with our human egocentric view of life, for ants to become men or for men to be made from the earth, that's like a significant jump in evolution or whatever, right? If they're starting as emperors, it's like how much higher can you go from an emperor? And then who is the one that rules the emperors? Now, card number 2 is what they become. The world. They start as emperors, they become the world. With the world card, again, it's like it's such a drastic level up, step up evolution from ants to people. I don't even think we have a concept currently of what this energy is to become. Again, it's like I said, it's an energy that doesn't really belong here. It doesn't necessarily exist here. But the beautiful thing about Earth is it can take on any shape, any form, any energy. So even if it doesn't belong here, it's like nature will adapt to accommodate it. And after time, after years and years and years of accommodation or acceptance or the lack of like predators in an area, after it comes into balance, it'll be as if it had always existed there. It'll be the new normal, it'll be the new natural. But what this is coming into, okay. So the third card was the trait that we're recognized for. It's the Four of Pentacles. Four of Pentacles, it's coming out as that piety. It's coming out as an energy and ability to stay true to yourself, regardless of the outside world. It's an energy of a house that's built upon the rock of stone or something like that. That no earthquakes, wildfires, tsunamis, no natural disaster can shake the foundation of this house. It will stand. It has stood, and it is standing. Like it has stood for millennia. It will stand until the end of time. And it feels organic. So it doesn't feel like it doesn't change. It doesn't feel like it doesn't evolve, but it maintains its position. I think this one was just in reverse, or it came out face down. So this is what we're recognized for. I guess this is like the extent of our ability or something. The Four of Swords. I actually love these four together. And just like before, it comes out with a similar energy, which I guess makes sense, right? It's like if the gods chose Aeacus to settle their arguments, and if the gods listened to his plea, he already was actively and currently what he is for them. It goes back to that energy with the Three of Wands that it's like there are going to be these trials, there are going to be these experiences, there are going to be these moments where your character shines through before you have the power, before you have the status, before you have whatever it is that you're seeking. And it goes back to the more cosmic nature of the Six of Orbs, Six of Pentacles. What you give, the universe has to give you. And honestly, it's like it's one of the greatest gifts given to man, because it's like it puts us just like the law of attraction and like manifestation. It lets us set the foundation for what it is that we're to receive. And we don't have to have it to get it. We don't have to know what it is to get it. We just have to continuously feed into it. Right. And that's this. It's the Ace of Cups, Six of Pentacles, Six of Orbs, Ace of Chalices, turnover. we're giving more than what we're getting. And because we're giving more than what we're getting consistently, it changes things. The next card is, it's like it was the card of vulnerability. Oops, I keep hitting that. Sorry. It's the Knight of Wands, and I'm not surprised. The Knight of Wands carries a lot of, like, what do you do to get what you want? Like, do you go about fulfilling your desires in shady and questionable ways? Do you take from others? Do you have a dog eat dog survivalist type of mindset where you have to use other people and step on others to make it in the world or to climb some kind of ladder? You have to use people or something like that? Because if that's the energy that you put into acquiring what it is that you receive, it's the energy that it's going to carry when you get it. It's like if you don't have anything to store meat and you get a bunch of meat, it'll rot, it'll decay, it'll go bad if you don't preserve it. Not exactly, but the energy that you carry as you go out into the world, that's the energy that you're going to get back. This is the pitfall of man, which makes sense, right? It's not necessarily like whatever. Next was the crime, and it's the Seven of Wands. This energy, again, this energy is interesting because the Wheel of Life and the Outlaw, it didn't necessarily come out how I expected. It feels like more like just violating, like this is what other people would see of as like a crime. So it's like a crime of nonconformity. It's a crime of not buying into what everyone else is buying into, and because you're not as easily managed, you're seen as a problem, and so the system tries to eject you. Basically, it's like you're a piece that, it's like if you don't fall into the lower, more shadowy nature of the Knight of Wands, you become this piece that the system doesn't really know what to do with. It's like, okay, well, if we can't sell you all of this stuff because, you love and value and cherish yourself as you are without the need for all of this, if we can't convince you to turn against other people to get what you want, and if we can't get you to be so stressed working your life away that it makes you more vulnerable and susceptible to all kinds of health problems, and now you need all this medicine or whatever, like there's nothing that the system can get. Like, we can't get anything from you. You're not profitable. Like, what do we do with you? And so in some ways, it's almost like it turns its back on you. Also, what's interesting is that both of these wands, it's almost literally the same wand, but the light is different. And so then this hanged man energy is the star. This is interesting. This was the punishment. The punishment is the star. The punishment is healing. The punishment is you come into a world, into a reality, into a way of living that frees you from all of the strife and the chaos and everything that basically the other system is built upon. But again, that it doesn't come as a surprise because, oops, sorry, I keep doing that. Because you're already in that energy. You're already here. So then the system gives you what it is that you were already preparing for yourself. And that goes back to what I was saying with this. The Ace of Cups and the Six of Pentacles. You're already doing it. So it has no choice but to come through. The bottom of the deck is the Three of Cups. I love the Three of Cups in this position because it feels like a welcome home type of energy. Honestly, it's like, and then the King of Pentacles is behind here. While we were dealing with the Daughter of Pentacles yesterday, with the Daughter of Pentacles being like, we think that we're doing whatever, but in reality, we're still young, we're still immature, we're still naive. Now it's the King of Pentacles, like welcome home. It's like, woo, like just came in from Earth, girl. It was rough. It was rough. It was hard. But I did it. And then under the King of Pentacles is the moon. And under the moon is the magician. Honestly, and again, it feels like energies that whatever kind of life you were living, especially coming off the read from yesterday with the Daughter of Pentacles, and now we have the Father of Pentacles from Page to King, and like literally the next day. It's an energy that this world doesn't support. But what it does is when we tap into this, energy often enough that the intensity of the frequency changes with this Wheel of Fortune, like this, this is how we move the Wheel of Fortune. And it's like a dial. Once you turn it so much, it puts you in an energy. That's projection. The eye of the sun, it's projecting. We're constantly projecting our reality, right? But because of this, we project something new. And it's like it's a video game. It's loading all the textures, it's loading the world around you, it's brand new. This is what exists beyond that Three of Swords. It's like that Two of Pentacles reaching a breaking point, Two of Wands finally being in a position to do something new. But then immediately you're hit with the Three of Swords. This is what exists beyond that. And again, we have the Four of Swords here. This is what exists beyond everything contained by your heartbreak and your fear, your trauma, your anxiety. And it's not that there isn't any of that outside, but the limitation of what you can experience and accomplish within the framework of that Three of Swords, this exists outside of all of that. And so it's not surprising that your punishment is the Star. Your punishment for not abiding by the system is literally everything you want. But again, the trick is like, we have to be in that energy before we're in that energy. The air precedes the earth. Thoughts become things. Things can influence thoughts, but thoughts become things. Five of Cups and the Five of Wands at the break. Oof. Cut to the Six of Swords. Six of Swords with the moon at the bottom. That's navigating through that space. Love it. So, final message time. Gonna get a final message from the Wild Unknown. I did not expect for this to be what it was, but by the end of the video, it makes sense because Aeacus is one of the judges in the underworld. So it's like we're sitting in a position where we could get the Elysium Fields. I'm not saying that Tartarus is Earth. Well, it's all Earth. Earth is an energy that it takes in the water, the fire, and the air, and it brings something according to the proportions and the amounts that it got. Now, it also does depend on the seed, but the seed is us. Or the seed is like, it's like if you're playing a game, it's your avatar, right? So there is more us that exists in the fire, the water, and the earth. But the card that came out, it's the Ten of Wands and the Chariot. I mean, it's a question of like, are you going to continue to be burdened? Are you going to continue to be overwhelmed? Are you going to continue to allow the circumstances of life to prevent you from moving forward and moving into everything that you want? The sun and the moon are both here. The Ace of Pentacles is also there. But again, the horse is you. The moon is you. The sun is everything outside of you. The sun loads what the moon tells it to load, right? Also, that's like a Cancerian fourth house energy, which is kind of cute, right? And like, I love this Ten of Wands though, because like there's a light there. And it's like the bramble isn't too thick. It feels like we're almost there type of energy. Honestly, it feels like it comes down to a decision. And would a decision be easier to make if you were in a different set of circumstances? Yeah, sure. But with the King of Wands, Archangel of Glory, and the Page of Cups at the bottom of the deck, it's about you becoming who you need to become first. Because again, the fire, divine fire, it's immutable. It does not change. It always will be what it always has been. It's us that change and grow and evolve. We are the cups. The divine is the fire. We mature to it. We catch up to it. It doesn't meet us where we want it to. It meets us where we are. That's the seed. That's the body. That's earth. That's the earthen aspect of us, where we are. That's where it'll meet us. Not where we project ourselves to be or where we feel we should be or what we feel entitled to with the fire, the water, or the air. It's where you are. Oh, okay. So shout out to Rob. I didn't get the 10 of Pentacles over there, but it just came out here. So I'll take it. Thank you. Sorry. And the 9 of Pentacles, the eminence into the dynasty. I love that energy. Bottom of the deck is the Shining Dew, Knight of Cups. So we've already gone from the page to the knight. I don't know. Well, I won't say we won't reach the King or the Queen of Cups, but we're also always the knight because we're constantly growing and evolving and changing. And so there's always a little bit of the knight within us. But like we're a warrior king or a warrior queen because we live life. You live life. So regardless of what your experience is or has been or will be, you live life. And so while you may become a king or a queen, you're always going to be that knight. Built upon that experience, it's like, let me show you why I became the king or why I became the queen, if you dare challenge me. And it's not about competition, but it's just like facing the challenges in life and continuously growing beyond our own limitations. And it's not to be insatiable, but it's like we will always want, we will always desire. And want and desire aren't a bad thing. It gives flavor to life. In some ways, it makes it mean something. It gives us something to do. I mean, and the 9 into the 10, 10 is numerologically the ace. The 10 and the ace are numerologically the same. It's almost with great power comes great responsibility type of energy, but it carries the energy of like the burden of abundance, I guess. Not that it necessarily is abundance, but there's a certain amount of responsibility, I guess, that comes with it. The 10 is the responsibility. The ace is the potential. It's built. It starts where you stand. And like that last one is in her womb. It's like we're carrying that right now. We're always carrying that. Life is to be enjoyed and life is to be lived in the moment. But tomorrow isn't guaranteed or promised. The next day, the next second, the next breath could not come. And with the 9 into the 10, it's like you don't have to live your life like 10 to 20 years in the future, but understand that the things you do today have implications on tomorrow. And the foundation that you build or the foundation that you destroy will either be larger or smaller the next day. And it's almost also this energy of like, no one is indebted to us. Spirit isn't even indebted to us. Not really. And again, it gives us that according to which we are capable of nurturing and growing. It meets us where we are. But that's what I got. So that's Aeacus. Aeacus is interesting. I think all the kings are interesting. I didn't know that Aeacus would settle disputes between gods. I can't even imagine dealing with the Greco-Roman pantheon. Woo! But also, I'm trying to think of all the things that could have been prevented or assuaged if Aeacus was there to settle the dispute. If Aeacus was there to be like, girl, Eris is behind this. And she's mad because y'all didn't invite her to the party. So before y'all go to war amongst yourselves, just invite Eris next time. And it's not inviting her out of whatever, but it's inviting her because it's nice to be invited to things. Like Hades, Pluto wouldn't be so grumpy all the time if he got to leave, right? Like y'all up here on Olympus, y'all get to do whatever y'all want to do, go out and sleep with mortals or punish mortals. And he's just down there all day, not able to escape. And the moment he gets a little bit of pleasure and a little bit of joy in Persephone, and I'm assuming that the pleasure and the joy was also mutual. It wasn't him taking her. Now all of a sudden, Ceres is upset, so he can't even have that. And she's like, Mom, let me go. Gosh, like, come on. I'm like thousands of years old now. Like, you still don't have a life? Sorry. No offense to Ceres. Ceres energy, it's coming in as an evolution. It's coming in as an ability to let things go. And because we can let things go, that's what changes the cycles. It's not that winter will stop being winter or that fall will stop being fall. It's that when the pendulum swings back to fall and winter, we come into a position of being able to elevate. So it's like northern and southern hemisphere, right? How birds migrate south for the winter. It's birds. It's migrating south for the winter. That's it. Learn how to migrate south for the winter. I'm going to title this Migrating South for the Winter, an Aeacus experience. I guess. I don't know. All right. I'll catch y'all later. I hope you have a good whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that you find whatever you need to find within you to liberate yourself from whatever you want to and or need to be liberated from. I also hope you find the experiences to make that liberation possible, right? All right. Bye. I'll see y'all tomorrow.